Just really quickly, I'm not here to talk about, my life in the sense of how hard it was growing up in the west side of Chicago, being abused pretty much in any aspect that you can think about. Having a 12 on the ACT twice, so my combined score, I wouldn't have had admission into many schools. Been a runaway, was promiscuous at a very early age, did a lot of stupid things because I was trying to soothe and pain. My father passed away 3 years ago. He used drugs most of my life, since 8 years old, and I'm 40 now. And my brother was murdered in front of our house. But I say all that to say is that God is good. And whomever you serve, I believe that faith is perfect, people not so much. But it was the calluses on my family's hands that allowed me to attend college. So I want to tell you a little bit about my journey and what I hope for you. So, with the incoming freshmen or the first year students, could you please stand? If you're here tonight, everybody stand. Stand up. Stand up. Okay. This is, they are our graduating class of 2015. So can we give it up that they'll be standing up 4 years from now? Okay. So, like I said, for me, my doctorate is really important. It illustrated many things, amongst them that measurements are not the measurement. They may be a measurement. But it also ultimately says that man can deny opportunities, but they cannot, they can delay opportunities for you, but they cannot deny them. So my PhD in the academic world definitely is a philosophy of education, but for me is praise, healing, and deliverance. And so what I really want you to focus on tonight, I want you to listen to the words, because I'm really counting on you, young men and women, to be just our future, and I want you to start now. So really quickly, I want you to understand that I'm here to congratulate you tonight. I'm here to say thank you for your achievements, your victories, even your pain, because I believe that those are for your advancement. I want you to understand that in this world there is no history without your history, and so the contributions that you make now are really important. Perhaps you're thinking, what accomplishments, Dr. Danley? What are you speaking of? So to be very clear, I want to express my gratitude about 3 points. 1, you understand the power of your mind. I want to thank you for understanding that, and I'll talk about that in a second. 2nd, you have accepted a voluntarily but yet non-negotiable responsibility to improve the conditions of our people and our communities. And finally, you have come here to be a part of something greater than yourself. So indulge me for a few moments while I explain in greater detail what I'm talking about as I speak life into existence, which is important for me. The late but always on time Brother Malcolm X believed in awakening the minds of black people into consciousness so they could begin to actively eliminate the gross inequities that divide us. It was thought that Brother Malcolm wanted to provoke. And it is this promotion and presentation of ourselves and community awareness that raises our self-esteem and rightfully reclaims the power of our mind. To value and protect the quality of your intellect essentially is essential to your growth and development. It is really a matter of life and death. Where I grew up, I had to make that choice on a regular basis, and some of you may have had to do that also, or you're doing that now. It doesn't make me any more black or less black than you are because I have certain pain, because there's no one way to be black and female or male and female. And so we really need to stop with the Olympic of oppressions and to stop being divisive. And I'm hoping that your class will continue to bridge the gap, to strengthen the gap between black males and black females. We are so much more, as Jane Baldwin would say, than time and history and circumstances have made of us. Assata Shakur, who continues to be in exile in Cuba, a former Black Panther, would say, it is a crime that I am if this is a crime, then I'm totally guilty. And what she was speaking of is about the right to have a consciousness. Without vision, people perish. So as men and women think in his heart, or as they think, so they are. You are more than the video vixens, the thugs on the street. You are more than the hoes and just the negative images that society wants us to see. I concur with them by saying what you condone, you own. So the things that you do, they matter and they stick with you through life. So make sure that you think very critically about the choices that you make. Do you realize when we kill our brothers and sisters, whether through our words or actions, that we are killing parts of ourselves? Do we fully understand that we do not have to use our bodies in unhealthy ways to have love and acceptance? Do we grasp that every issue in our community, if addressed with a collective thought of healing, forgiveness, and restoration, can be solved by us? Yes, it hurts when we are called such names that reduce us to gardening tools, female dogs, or ignorant persons. Whether the statement comes from others or outside of our cultural groups or within us, as we often refer to ourselves, we are further alienating ourselves from ourselves. And so I really challenge you, as I work with the young ladies throughout the year, to question yourself about why you use the words you do. And young men, why do you use the words that you do to refer to one another? Because it really does matter. People will say it's not what you're called, it's what you answer to. But I believe that it is both. That you should not be thinking it, you shouldn't be saying it, and we shouldn't refer to one another in such derogatory manners. I understand as a terms of endearment. I've been there and I've done that. But what I'm telling you, it definitely weighs heavily on your spirit. You are so much more beautiful, so much more resilient and creative, and just amazing than perhaps you even realize yourself. And you don't have to perpetuate yourself as a marketing or a profiting tool to be used as someone's pleasure in order for that to happen. Oh. So I'll give you this. I don't want to let go. Okay. Okay. Is that one on? Okay. All right. I can speak loud enough, as I don't think this one. It's okay. For example, I wanted to just come up with the word snitch. You know, we've had a lot of deaths in our family, a lot of murders in our family. And oftentimes, you know, just in our community still, we say, you know, we don't tell about our family business. I believe that that's one of the reasons why me and several women, you know, were molested and or raped or attempted rape for years, because we don't tell like our business. I like to think of snitching in this way. Saving our neighborhoods involves truth-telling that challenges and changes and heals our hearts and our communities. I want us to recognize again that we can speak life instead of death. How we reach out as well as we receive one another, it matters. Do you speak to each other when you're walking down the hallway, whether you like the person or not? It's just a matter of respect. Why do we expect groups outside of ourselves to respect us when we do not do so? It's really important. I want to say thank you in advance for challenging your minds to learn and live the legacies of greatness that is rightfully yours. I want you to understand, young men and women, that you are daughters of humanity and princesses of humanity. You come from Africa, which really is the foundation from everything. It is all intellect, it is all life. The first higher education institution, Timbuktu, was a real place, and a lot of people don't know that. So I want you to understand, our history does not start with bondage. It does not start with slavery. And you have something inside of you, in addition to your biological DNA, it is your DNA that means your destiny never abandons you. So that means that you are a part of something much greater than yourself. And when you fully understand that and you can walk into that, there are certain things that you are not going to tolerate anymore. So starting right now, you have the ability to broaden your minds and refuse to accept or perpetuate pain, ignorance, and decisiveness. Randall Kennedy says, experience is only an opportunity. What matters is what you make of it. I don't know what happens inside your homes, like I said, and the media shows us what society wants us to believe about ourselves. I do know that we as African Americans overcrowd special education classrooms. I do know that we're 90% of the population at the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. I do know that our dropout rates, particularly for African American girls at the time, is 40% across the country, that we are 7 times more likely to attempt suicide, 23 more times likely to stay in unhealthy relationships and violent relationships. And so I want you to understand is that those actions are cries for help. To say that we all have responsibility to deal with that. To have the right to educate, it costs our communities their lives literally and figuratively, and I think oftentimes we take the opportunity to be educated for granted. I believe that the Little Rock Nine and Ruby Bridges, Septima Clark, the Freedom Riders, Ella Baker, the Black Panthers would not hesitate to give their lives again for us to be sitting here today. So you have the responsibility, and I challenge you to study and read about your histories and your herstories outside of your classroom. Take full advantage of the education, to access the education that you have, to not give up when life gets hard, because it will. I want you to understand that your baggage can become blessings, and that you are just greater, as great in your mind and your heart as you believe that you are. When you graduate and go on to college, or to be a leader in your community, how will you be remembered at Bronzeville Scholastic Institute? What will your teachers and counselors say when you ask them to write a letter of recommendation for you? What will your classmates say about you in terms of your interactions with them? How will your neighborhood and your parents and community speak about the contributions you've made while maintaining grades or not? More importantly, what will you have to say about yourself? To whom much is given, much is required. So both in and outside of the classroom, how will you use your gifts to improve the quality of the conditions in your schools and in your neighborhoods? Even if this is never mentioned, you are being watched by people who admire you and look to you for leadership. What will they learn about the value of life from watching you? Finally, from the moment you took your first breath, and arguably before, you were connected to something greater than yourself. Our forebears, though betrayed into bondage, survived the slavery in which they were reduced to things, property, entitled neither to rights nor to respect as human beings. Somehow, as the legacy of our spirituals make clear, our enslaved ancestors managed to maintain their humanity as well as their faith. Indeed, we owe our existence to their perseverance, their faith. In these perilous times, we must do no less than they did. Fashion a philosophy that both matches the unique dangers we face and enables us to recognize in those dangers opportunities for committed living and human service. There's a way for us to condemn rather than critique the images that we see. I admire Nicki Minaj, and I admire Beyonce, and Lil Wayne, and all of them, but I want you to understand is that their actions is between them and something greater. I don't look to them to educate us here. They don't have that responsibility necessary. We can take from them their strength, their beauty, the fact that they want to be visible and heard, but we can do that without using certain language and without taking our clothes off. That's who we are. We need to look up and research, because each of those young ladies and those young men have philanthropy organizations where they give back, but society doesn't want us to see that about them. So instead of, again, condemning them, you don't understand and you don't know their story just like they don't know our story. So instead of waiting for them to take the lead, if you see a young brother or a young sister that is doing something that is harmful, take it upon yourself to say, you don't have to dress like that. You are worthy of greatness. You don't have to act like that and talk like that, because you are better than that. We don't have to wait for an entourage to come off a reality show, because your entourage is your church members, your sisters, your friends, your beauticians, the people that live in your communities. There's your school.